shantytown known as Rocinha sprawls up the hills overlooking the ocean and the bright city of Rio de Janeiro. With almost 200,000 people, Rocinha is considered the largest slum in Latin America. The shantytown, or favela in Portuguese, is a crisscross of moldy alleyways that wind together like a maze. An ever-present river of sewage runs beneath it. The jumbled web of telephone wires shown here are testament to the ad hoc and precarious way in which people live, but also to the resilient, do-it-yourself spirit of the Brazilian people. In a community where life expectancy is low and children far outnumber adults, Vó Ayrson, or Grandpa Ayrson, is one of the few who can still remember the favela as it was almost 50 years ago, back when the shacks were made of mud. He says they used to melt during a heavy rain. Last year, Vó Ayrson's reputation as a storyteller earned him the title of Grio, or Elder. The Grio Action Program is a government attempt to identify living preservers of oral traditions that are in danger of dying out. There are 250 griots across Brazil, and counting. They live in the Amazon jungle, in the arid northeast, and in the crowded shantytowns on the periphery of the country's major cities. Often poor and isolated, the griots receive minimum wage salaries of $150 per month to pass on the songs, games, and stories from their childhoods. Vó Ayrson is wearing the white robe of a healer in the Afro-Brazilian religion known as Umbanda. He teaches schoolchildren how to build old toys and takes tourists on personalized tours of the favela, called Grio Trails. Here on a trail, he stops to show visitors a shrine to Nossa Senhora Aparecida, the patron saint of Brazil. It is built on the spot where he says residents first struck drinking water long ago, but few are left to dispute his account. In another part of the city, this 87-year-old griot Tia Maria likes to say she was singing jongo in her mother's womb. Jongo is a slave ritual that has been passed on secretly among Afro-Brazilian families in the region around Rio de Janeiro for what may be hundreds of years. Tia Maria bursts into song mid-conversation. Her voice is deep and leathery as she tells stories to a group of children that gather around her to learn jongo a couple times a week. In places that don't come up in official histories, Vó Ayrson's storytelling and Tia Maria's jongo are political acts. They provide the living narratives of a nation that is starting to recognize all that can be lost when the contributions of the people on the margins are ignored, especially at a time when the forces of capitalism and globalization and drug-related violence are changing the pace of life profoundly. Through the Grio Action Program, Brazil is coming to terms with these changes in a small but important way. Like so much in Brazil, the lyrics to jongos are simple and joyous, but complex and even sobering at a second hearing. They are full of innuendo folklorists say was purposeful, a secret way to communicate so that white folks couldn't understand. Many griots, including Tia Maria, are still surprised that the government has become interested in the simple songs and games they say they just do for fun. But in a country that takes playfulness very seriously, perhaps it's not so surprising after all. This is Elizabeth Dwoskin for Utne.com.